The night sky above Mars Colony 12 was quiet. The red dust moved like smoke across the ground, whispering against metal walls and broken antennas. Inside the old mining zone, a man named Evan Cole walked alone with his flashlight. He was a repair worker, one of the few still living in the colony after most people left for Earth. Evan was tired. His life was simple: fix machines, eat tasteless food, sleep, and repeat. He had no family, no friends, only silence. The empty colony sometimes made him talk to himself just to hear a voice. That night, something strange happened. A sound echoed through the cold air. It was soft, trembling. A child's voice. "Please, help me." Evan froze. The sound came from the communication tunnel, a place no one used anymore. His heart started to beat faster. "Is someone there?" he called. No answer, only the sound of wind. He followed the voice, light trembling in his hand. The deeper he went, the darker it became. The tunnel smelled of rust and old oil. Then he heard it again, closer now. "Please, human." Evan's flashlight caught a small shape curled up near a broken cargo pod. It looked like a little girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old. She had silver blue skin that shimmered faintly in the light. Her hair floated gently, as if it had no weight. Her big violet eyes looked scared but full of hope. Evan stepped closer, whispering, Hey, it's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The girl didn't move. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Please, pretend to be my daddy. Just for one day." Evan blinked, confused. "Your daddy?" She nodded slowly. "They left me here. The cold hurts. I just want one day." Evan felt something heavy in his chest. He remembered his own daughter. He once had a family before the war, before everything was destroyed. Her name was Mia. She was the same age this alien girl looked now. He knelt down and gently took off his jacket, wrapping it around the small creature. Her body was trembling. "All right," he said softly. "I'll be your daddy for one day. But first, let's get you out of this cold place." The girl looked up at him, surprised. For the first time, a faint smile appeared on her face. "Thank you, Daddy Human." Evan felt an unexpected warmth in his heart. He lifted her carefully and started walking back toward his shelter. She was lighter than air, and her skin gave off a soft glow that lit the path ahead. As they reached the colony's old living quarters, Evan laid her down near the heater. "What's your name?" he asked. The girl looked around, eyes wide at the strange human room filled with tools and cables. "They called me Ari," she said. "I come from the sky, from the place with 3 moons." Evan smiled slightly. "Ari, huh? That's a nice name." He gave her some warm water. She took a sip and then looked at him with deep sadness. "They said humans are cruel, but you helped me." Evan didn't know what to say. He just nodded and poked at the heater's light. "Not all humans are the same," he muttered. Ari's eyes slowly closed as she fell asleep. Evan watched her, wondering what kind of being she really was and why she had been left alone. Outside, the red dust storm began to rise again, whispering around the shelter like ghosts. Then his radio cracked with static. "Unit 12, report. We detected non-human life signals near your zone. Do not engage." "Repeat, do not engage." Evan's eyes widened. He looked at the small sleeping alien girl wrapped in his jacket. His hands trembled. If they found out, they would take her away, to a lab for experiments. He couldn't let that happen. He turned off the radio and stared out the window at the storm. Somewhere deep inside, the empty space in his heart began to fill again, with fear and with something stronger. Hope. The next morning, the red light of dawn slipped through the cracks of the metal shelter. Evan woke up to the soft sound of breathing beside the heater. For a moment he forgot everything, his loneliness, his pain, the world outside. Then he saw her. Ari was still asleep, curled under his old jacket. Her glowing skin had dimmed to a pale blue, like the color of ice under sunlight. She looked peaceful, almost human. Evan found himself smiling, something he hadn't done in years. But the smile faded when he remembered the radio message. Non-human life signals detected. Do not engage, they were looking for her. He quietly moved to the window. The storm had calmed, but outside he saw a small patrol drone scanning the area. Its red light moved across the sand like a hunting eye. "Damn it," he whispered. He turned back. Ari had woken up and was watching him with sleepy eyes. "Daddy Human," she said softly, "and why are you sad?" Evan forced a smile. "I'm not sad, Ari, just thinking." She tilted her head, curious. Thinking is heavy. You carry too many thoughts, he laughed quietly. You're smarter than you look. Ori smiled shyly, but her eyes turned serious. They are coming for me, aren't they? Evan froze. Who told you that? Ori looked at her hands, glowing faintly. I can feel them. Their machines talk to the air. I hear their anger. Evan crouched beside her. Listen, Ori, you have to stay quiet, okay? If they find you, they'll take you away, and I won't be able to protect you. She looked up at him, fear and trust mixing in her eyes. You promised to be my daddy for one day. I did, he said softly. But maybe one day isn't enough. Ori reached out and touched his hand. Her touch was warm, like sunlight on frozen metal. Then be my daddy until the stars forget to shine, she whispered. Evan felt something break inside him. That little alien girl, abandoned, afraid, and yet full of love, had already become part of his heart. He stood up and started packing supplies, food bars, water, a portable heater, and some spare batteries. We need to move before they find us, he said. Move. Where? There's an old research station in the northern canyon. No scanners reach that far. We'll be safe there. Ori nodded and helped him pack, her small hands glowing faintly as she touched the objects. The batteries near her hands suddenly recharged. Evan blinked. Wait, did you just… Ori looked surprised. I just give them light, she said simply. We can make things live again. He stared at her in disbelief. Her kind had powers he didn't understand. Maybe that was why humans wanted her so badly. When everything was ready, they left the shelter. The cold air bit their skin. Evan pulled up his hood, keeping Ori close under his jacket to hide her glow. As they walked through the rusty tunnels and open dunes, Ori asked in a small voice, Why do humans fear what they do not know? Evan sighed. Because sometimes what we don't know has already hurt us. They reached the edge of the canyon by nightfall. The wind howled between the rocks, carrying the distant sound of engines. Drones. Evan quickly found a hidden shaft leading underground. He pushed Ori inside and followed. Inside, the air was damp and old wires hung from the ceiling. He turned on a small light. We'll stay here tonight. Ori sat on the cold floor, hugging her knees. Daddy human, she whispered. If they find us, will they hurt you? Evan smiled weakly. I've been hurt before, kid. I'll survive. Ori's eyes filled with tears that glowed faintly. I don't want you to be hurt because of me. He reached out and gently brushed her hair. Hey, look at me. You're not a problem, Ori. You're a miracle. You hear me? She nodded slowly, and for a moment her glow brightened the whole room like a soft sunrise. But then, there was a sound. A distant beep, beep, beep. Evan froze. It came from his wrist communicator. He looked down. Alert, unauthorized life form detected, tracking in progress. Evan's heart pounded. Somehow they had found them. He turned off the device and looked at Ori. We have to go, now. The little alien girl looked scared but brave. She took his hand. Wherever we go, Daddy Human. I'll give you light. Evan squeezed her hand. Then I'll give you protection. They ran deeper into the canyon, the stars shining faintly above the stormy sky. Behind them, red lights began to appear, search drones closing in. And as the first one scanned the ground where they had been standing, it found something strange, a faint blue glow still warm like a heartbeat left behind. The night over Mars was alive with red dust and wind. The storm screamed like a living thing, but it could not hide the sound of engines chasing through the dark. Evan ran across the dunes, holding Ari's hand tightly. His lungs burned. The air was thin, but he didn't stop. Behind them, small lights moved in the sky. The patrol drones were searching. Their red eyes swept the sand like fire. Faster, Ori, he shouted, pulling her along. Ori's feet barely touched the ground. Her glow flickered with fear and exhaustion. They are close, she whispered. I can feel their minds. Cold minds, no heart. Evan looked back. 3 drones were closing in. He fired his old pulse rifle once. The blue bolt hit one drone, sending it crashing into the sand. But the others kept coming. They reached a low ridge. Evan pushed Ori behind a large rock and crouched beside her. We'll rest here for a moment, he said, breathing hard. Ori looked at him with worried eyes. You're hurt. Evan glanced at his arm. A piece of metal had scratched him, leaving a trail of blood. He wiped it off quickly. It's nothing. I've had worse. Ori placed her small glowing hand over the wound. Evan felt warmth spreading through his arm, and when he looked again, the cut was gone. Only clean skin remained. He stared at her in disbelief. "You healed me?" She nodded, her voice soft. "I give light. Light makes things whole." Evan smiled faintly. "Then your light might just save both of us." Before he could say more, the ground shook. A loud metallic roar echoed across the canyon. A bigger drone was approaching. It was a hunter model, armed and fast. Evan grabbed Ari's hand again. "We have to keep moving." They ran down into a valley filled with strange glowing stones. The air shimmered blue and white. Ori looked around in awe. "This place, it feels alive," Evan frowned. "Alive?" She nodded slowly. "The ground here remembers. My people once walked on this land." That made Evan stop. "Your people? You mean your kind lived here before humans came?" "Yes," Ari said quietly. "Long ago, before the red dust, before humans took the mines, we were light keepers. But when the war began, they hunted us. I was hidden, until they left me behind." Her words hit him like a punch. "So that's why they're after you," Evan whispered. "You're the last of your kind." Ori looked down. "Maybe. Or maybe the others sleep under the ground waiting for the stars to forgive." Evan didn't know what to say. He only knew one thing: he couldn't let them take her. Suddenly a red beam flashed over the rocks. The hunter drone had found them. Evan grabbed his rifle and shouted, "Run, Ori!" He fired again, aiming for the drone's sensor. The shot hit, but the machine only slowed for a moment before turning its guns toward him. Ori screamed, and a burst of bright blue light exploded from her body. The sand around them lifted into the air as if caught in a storm of energy. The drone's systems flickered and died, crashing into the dunes in a burst of sparks. Evan stared at her. "Ori, what did you just do?" Ori looked pale and weak. "I don't know." The light moved on its own. "It wanted to protect you." He caught her before she fell. "You did protect me," he said softly. "You saved us." He looked around and the dunes were quiet again. The remaining drones had lost their signal. For now, they were safe. Evan carried Ori to a small cave near the ridge. Inside, the walls glowed faintly with the same blue stone. He laid her down gently. "Rest," he whispered. "I'll keep watch." As she closed her eyes, Ori spoke in a weak voice. "Daddy Human, do you think the stars will forgive humans one day?" Evan sighed. "Maybe, but it starts with small things. Like kindness. Like what you showed me." A faint smile touched her lips. "Then maybe the stars have already started forgiving." Outside, the red storm softened. The sky above the cave shimmered faintly with light. Blue mixed with red, human with alien. Evan sat near the entrance, rifle in hand, watching the horizon. He knew they couldn't stay hidden forever. The colony would keep searching. But as he looked back at the small alien girl sleeping peacefully, he made a silent promise. They won't take her. Not while I'm alive. For the first time in years, Evan felt something real, purpose. The man who once had nothing now had someone to protect. The night deepened. Somewhere far away, new signals flashed in the sky. Not drones this time, but ships. Big ones, and among them one voice whispered through Ari's dreams. "Ari, come home." She stirred in her sleep, whispering one word that chilled Evan's heart when he heard it. "Mother." The cave was quiet except for the sound of Ari's soft breathing. Evan sat beside her, cleaning his pulse rifle. His hands were steady, but his mind wasn't. The words she had whispered in her sleep still echoed inside him. "Mother." He looked at her small, glowing form. She seemed peaceful, but there was something different now. A faint silver light pulsed gently under her skin, like a heartbeat calling to something far away. Evan stared at the cave's entrance. Outside, the storm had passed and Mars looked calm again. But he knew calm didn't last long here, especially not when signals from the sky had already found them. He turned on his old scanner, hoping to check for drone activity. The screen flickered, and then something strange appeared. A faint signal, not human. A soft voice whispering through static. "Ori, can you hear me?" Evan froze. It was a woman's voice, gentle but cold, echoing from deep space. Ori stirred in her sleep. The silver glow on her skin brightened. Her lips moved. "Mother?" she whispered. Evan leaned closer, his voice sharp with fear. "Ori, don't answer that." But it was too late. The scanner's lights turned blue and a shimmering hologram appeared in the air. It was the figure of a tall alien woman, her skin bright silver, her eyes burning violet like Ori's. "Ori," the hologram said softly. "My child, you survived." Evan raised his rifle, unsure if this was real or a trick. "Who are you?" The alien woman turned her gaze toward him. "You are the human protecting my daughter," she said calmly. "For that I should thank you." Evan frowned. "If you're really her mother, why did she end up abandoned in a cargo pod?" The woman's expression didn't change. "Because the humans attacked our ship. We had no choice but to send her away. It was the only way to save her." Ori slowly sat up, eyes full of tears. "You left me alone, Mother." The hologram's eyes softened. "To save you, my light. But now I have found you again. You must come home." Evan lowered his rifle slightly. "Home? You mean back to wherever you came from?" "Yes," the alien woman said. "This planet is poison for her kind. If she stays with you, her light will fade." Ori looked at Evan, her eyes wide and confused. "Is that true, Daddy Human? Will I die if I stay?" Evan's chest tightened. He didn't know the answer. He looked at the hologram again. "You say you're her mother, but you talk like a machine. Why should I believe you?" The woman's voice grew colder. "Because I do not lie. My ship is above this world. I can sense her life from orbit. I came to take her back, before your people capture her again." Evan clenched his jaw. "And what happens if humans see your ship?" "There'll be war all over again." The hologram flickered slightly. "War has never ended. It only sleeps. But I will not leave my daughter behind." Ori stood up, her glow trembling. "Mother, this man saved me. He fed me, kept me warm, and held my hand when I was scared. He is not like the others." The alien woman looked at Evan, her expression unreadable. "You are different," she admitted. "Your heart carries both pain and kindness, but kindness cannot protect her forever." Evan took a deep breath. Maybe not forever, but long enough for her to live, laugh, and not be a lab experiment. For a moment, silence filled the cave. The hologram shimmered faintly, then spoke again, slower, softer. "There are others coming, human. Your colony sent a signal. Soldiers are on their way. When they arrive, they will kill you and take her." Evan's stomach twisted. "How long do we have?" "Less than one cycle," she replied. "Before dawn." The hologram began to fade. "If you want her to live, bring her to the highest dune before sunrise. My ship will take her." Ori stepped forward, tears glowing on her cheeks. "Mother, will you come down?" "Not yet, my light. The humans fear what they see. But soon." The voice faded into static. Then silence. Evan sat down heavily, running a hand through his hair. His mind spun with fear and confusion. Let her go and lose her forever, or keep her and bring death upon them both. Ori came closer and sat beside him. "Daddy Human," she said softly. "If I go with her, will you come too?" Evan looked at her, his heart aching. "I don't think she wants me there." "But I want you there," she whispered. "You are my daddy now, even if only for one day." Evan pulled her close, holding her tightly as the cold air crept into the cave. "Then we'll make that one day count," he said. Outside, the horizon began to glow faintly with the first light of dawn, and in the distance, the shadows of human soldiers moved closer. The first light of dawn crawled slowly across the red horizon. The wind had stopped. The world was quiet, too quiet. Evan stood at the mouth of the cave, staring at the distant shimmer of lights in the valley below. Human soldiers. They were coming. Their scanners moved like hungry eyes sweeping across the dunes. He looked back at Ori. She was sitting beside the small heater, her silver blue skin glowing softly. She looked calm, but her eyes told another story: fear, confusion, and sadness. "Daddy Human," she said softly. "Are they bad men?" Evan sighed. "They're just doing what they're told. But what they've been told is wrong." She tilted her head. "They think I'm dangerous?" "Yes," he said. "Because they don't understand you." Ari's voice trembled. "You understand me?" Evan smiled faintly. "I try to." He sat down beside her. His heart was heavy. In a few hours, everything would change. He could already hear the sound of engines getting closer. Ori touched his hand. "My mother said I must go before sunrise." "I know," he whispered. "She said I will die if I stay." He didn't answer. He couldn't. The thought of her leaving, the only warmth he'd felt in years, tore at his chest. Ori looked down, voice small as the morning wind. Will you come with me, Daddy Human? Evan smiled sadly. If I could, I would. But her ship, it's not built for humans. I wouldn't survive. Ori blinked back glowing tears. Then I don't want to go. He took her hands gently. Ori, you have to live. You're something special. Maybe the last of your kind. You can't throw that away because of me. But you made me feel safe, she whispered. No one ever did before. Evan swallowed hard. You made me feel alive again. They sat in silence for a moment. Outside, the light of dawn began to paint the dunes gold. The air shimmered faintly, and in that shimmer, Ari's skin began to glow brighter as if the rising sun was calling to her. She looked up suddenly. She's near, she said. My mother's ship. Evan stepped outside. Over the dunes, he could see it, a faint silver beam cutting through the clouds. It wasn't just light. It was alive, moving like liquid through the air. Ari stood beside him, her eyes wide. She's calling me. Evan nodded slowly. Then go, before they find us. But before she could move, a sharp sound cracked through the air. Click. He spun around, soldiers, 6 of them. Their suits were black, faces hidden behind helmets. The leader raised his weapon. Evan Cole, a voice shouted through a speaker. Step away from the life form. Evan stood still, hands raised. She's just a child. She's an alien. The soldier barked. Classified threat level 3. Step aside. Ari trembled behind him. Daddy. Evan's mind raced. He couldn't fight them all. He had one rifle. They had armor, scanners, and orders. But he couldn't let them take her. The beam from the sky grew brighter, humming like a heartbeat. The soldiers turned toward it, shielding their eyes. Evan saw his chance. He grabbed Ari's hand. Run! They sprinted across the sand. Energy blast burned the ground around them. The air filled with smoke and light. Ari's glow flared brighter with every step, until her small body looked like a piece of the sunrise itself. One soldier fired. The beam hit Evan's shoulder, spinning him to the ground. He groaned in pain. Ari stopped, eyes wide. Daddy, keep running, he shouted, pushing himself up. She didn't move. Instead, she raised her hands. Blue light burst from her palms, pure, bright, and alive. It spread across the dunes like a wave, knocking the soldiers back. Their weapons sparked and died. Evan stared in awe. Ari, she turned to him, crying. I don't want to leave you. He stumbled forward, blood dripping from his arm. You have to, now. Go to the light. She shook her head. Not without you. Evan smiled weakly and touched her face. You're stronger than you think. Be brave for me. Tears rolled down her glowing cheeks. I love you, Daddy Human, he whispered, voice breaking. I love you too, little light. She stepped into the silver beam. Her body began to rise slowly, glowing brighter and brighter until she looked like a small star. The wind swirled around them, carrying her voice like a song. I'll come back for you. Then in a flash, she was gone. The light faded into the sky. Evan fell to his knees, staring upward. The dawn spread across Mars like fire. The soldiers stood in silence, their weapons lowered, their faces hidden but their hearts shaken. One of them whispered, What was she? Evan looked at the rising sun. Hope, he said softly. She was hope. The silver beam disappeared into the sky, leaving only wind and dust behind. The world went quiet again, so quiet that even the sound of Evan's breath felt too loud. He stayed on his knees, staring at the sky where Ari had vanished. The morning sun rose slowly, painting the sand gold and red, but to him everything looked gray. She was gone. The soldiers stood nearby, weapons still in their hands but their faces pale behind the visors. They had seen it too, a small alien child turning into light and flying away like a star. One soldier finally spoke, his voice uneasy. Sir, what do we report? The leader paused. We didn't see anything, he said flatly. Then he turned toward Evan. You should come with us. You're injured. Evan didn't move. Go away, he said quietly. The man hesitated. You helped an alien escape, Cole. That's treason. Evan slowly looked at him, eyes cold. Then call me a traitor. The soldier didn't reply. He looked at the others, then gave a small nod. Let's move out, he ordered. The team left, walking back toward their transport, their shadows long in the red light. When they were gone, Evan stood up shakily. His shoulder ached where the beam had burned him, but he didn't care. The only thing he felt was emptiness. He looked down at the sand. Something shimmered faintly where Ari had stood, a tiny crystal glowing blue. He bent down and picked it up carefully. It was warm in his palm, like it still carried her heartbeat. Evan whispered, "Goodbye, little light." He slipped the crystal into his pocket and began walking. The dunes stretched endlessly before him, silent and lonely. Each step echoed in his mind like a memory he couldn't escape. As the sun climbed higher, he reached the old mining colony again. The place looked smaller now, just metal bones and broken towers. He entered his empty shelter and sat down by the heater, staring at the cold walls. For the first time in years, he felt the silence press down on him. But it wasn't the same silence as before. It wasn't just emptiness. It was waiting. That night, he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Ari's face. Her smile, her glowing eyes, her small hands holding his, and her last words kept echoing in his head. "I'll come back for you." He shook his head. "She's gone, Evan. She's not coming back," he muttered to himself. But deep inside, a small part of him refused to believe it. The next day, strange things began to happen. The colony's power grid, which had been broken for months, suddenly started working again. Lights flickered to life across the buildings. Machines that hadn't run in years hummed softly. Evan checked the control panels. No fuel, no batteries. It didn't make sense. Then he felt it. The same warmth he had felt when Ari healed him. The same energy that came from her touch. He looked at the heater. The blue crystal he'd found on the sand was lying beside it, glowing faintly. "She left her light behind," he whispered. He picked it up and felt a pulse, like a heartbeat, faint but alive. The air around him shimmered softly, and for a moment he thought he heard her voice again. "Daddy human." Evan froze. "Ari?" No answer. Just the wind outside. But when he looked at the crystal again, a small image flickered inside it. Her smile, like a memory stored in light. He felt tears burn his eyes. "You really are hope," he whispered. Days passed. The colony became brighter. Plants began to grow in places they shouldn't, tiny green shoots pushing through dry sand. The air even felt different, fresher. Other workers from nearby stations came to see what had happened. They asked Evan how he fixed the power, how the machines were running again. He just smiled faintly and said, "A friend helped me." At night, he climbed to the top of the ridge and looked up at the stars. One of them seemed to shine brighter than the rest, soft blue, steady, like it was watching over him. He raised the crystal toward it and whispered, "I miss you, kid." The crystal pulsed once, glowing brighter. Evan smiled. He didn't know if it was real or just in his heart, but he felt her answer, quiet and full of love. "I miss you too." Evan stayed there until dawn, the light of Mars painting his face. The man who had once been broken was no longer empty. He had purpose again, to protect the light she left behind, and to keep her memory alive. And though the world was still harsh and cold, he carried a warmth that no storm could ever take. The silence after the light was not the end. It was the beginning of something new. Years passed on Mars Colony 12. The red storms still came and went, but the land had changed. Small green plants grew near the old mining sites. The air smelled cleaner and the sun seemed brighter. The humans never understood why. The scientists wrote reports, the commanders argued, and the politicians called it a terraforming miracle. But only Evan Cole knew the truth. It was because of her. The little alien girl with silver blue skin, Auri, every night. Evan climbed to the same ridge where he last saw her disappear into the stars. He still carried her blue crystal around his neck, close to his heart. It had never stopped glowing. He was older now, hair gray and face lined from years of storms and hard work. But when he looked at that crystal, his eyes always softened. He would whisper, "Still keeping your promise, huh?" The people of the colony began calling him the Keeper. They said his station was blessed. Wherever he worked, machines never failed. Plants grew faster. Water stayed pure. No one knew why, except him. One cold night, Evan sat near his shelter watching the horizon. The stars looked especially bright. Then something strange happened. The crystal around his neck began to pulse. He frowned, holding it up. "Ari," he whispered. A soft hum filled the air. The ground trembled slightly. He stood scanning the sky. A blue streak appeared among the stars, faint at first, then brighter, moving fast. His heart started to pound. No, it can't be. The light grew until it filled the sky, descending like a falling star. It landed far beyond the dunes, sending a ripple of wind through the valley. Evan didn't hesitate. He grabbed his jacket and ran. His old legs struggled against the sand, but his heart felt young again, alive with hope. When he reached the crash site, the air shimmered. A silver ship stood half buried in the sand, glowing with soft energy. Then, a small figure stepped out. Her feet touched the ground gently, leaving bright blue footprints that faded into light. She looked just as he remembered. Silver blue skin, violet eyes full of warmth. But she was older now, maybe in her teens. Her glow was stronger, her presence calm and radiant. Evan's eyes filled with tears. "Ari," she smiled, that same soft, shy smile from years ago. "Hello, Daddy Human." He laughed, a broken, joyful sound. "You came back." "I promised I would." She walked toward him, and when she touched his hand, he felt warmth spread through his whole body. The pain in his joints, the tiredness, gone. Her light was healing him again. "You kept the world alive," she said. "The plants, the air. You protected the light." He shook his head. "No, kid. You did that. You left it behind for us." She smiled wider. "I left part of my heart with you, and you helped it grow." Evan blinked back tears. "I missed you every day." "I missed you too," she whispered. He looked at her ship. "You came alone?" She nodded. "My people are awake again. The war is over. The humans learned to stop fighting us. We live in peace now. My mother sent me to bring something back." Evan smiled softly. "And what's that?" Ari reached out and touched his chest right over the glowing crystal. "You," he froze. "Me?" She nodded. "You showed us what humans can be, kind, brave, gentle. My mother said your light should live among the stars." He chuckled. "I'm just an old man, kid." Her eyes softened. "You are the reason I'm still alive. That means you're more than a man. You're my family." Evan looked up at the sky. He could see the faint glow of other ships above the atmosphere, moving like slow comets. "If I go with you, will I ever come back?" Ari lowered her gaze. "Maybe not. But your name will stay here. The plants, the wind, they will remember you." He smiled gently. "Then maybe it's time." Ari took his hand. "Don't be afraid." He laughed softly. "I'm not. I stopped being afraid the day I met you." Together they walked into the beam of light that poured from her ship. The air shimmered, wrapping around them like a warm blanket. Before they rose into the sky, Evan turned one last time. He looked at the red world he had called home. No longer empty, no longer dead. "Take care of her," he whispered to the planet. Then the light lifted them higher and higher until they became two small stars rising together. One blue, one gold. Back at the colony, the power lights flickered, and the plants bloomed brighter than ever. People looked to the sky and saw a new star shining beside Mars, steady and soft, like a promise that never faded. And when the wind blew through the empty tunnels, some swore they could hear a gentle voice whispering, "Please, human, pretend to be my daddy. Just one more day."